I wanted to do a video of some of the amps that kind of come through here for repair or restoration. Mostly, I hear people on CB band grossly exaggerating what their amps will put out. They're almost always using dosimeters or paradynamic meters, and they'll claim something ridiculous. I've heard people claim that that 4 2SC2079s will put out 1200 watts, which is complete nonsense. I've heard people claim 2 3-500 ZGs will do 3000 plus, which is also nonsense. So as various amps come through here, I'm just going to stick them on the bench and kind of give a reality check. Now I want to comment about this little Radio Shack meter. These little meters are actually fairly accurate, provided, and here's a big asterisk, a big provided you have exactly 1-to-1 SWR. If the SWR gets away from 1-to-1, they become wildly inaccurate. In this case, I'm using a 50 ohm, 1500 watt oil fill dummy load, so there shouldn't be any standing waves. Coming back, I'm screwing the meter up. No inductive reactance, capacitive reactance, or any of that. Should just be a pure resistive 50 ohm load. The radio is a little Uniden Pro10 5XL, 4 watts out, completely stock. And this is a 2-tube D&A Hornet to the left. It uses 2 6JG6A tubes in grounded grid class B. Now there was some discussion on one of the ham boards where various people were claiming all the D&A amps were pieces of shit and they were class C and they had grid leak bias, and there was a few other people defending them, saying no, that's not true, they're straight grounded grid and they're class B or AB. And as it turns out, both parties were right and both parties were wrong as far as the class of service. It depends on the amp. The 2-tube D&A Hornet is straight grounded grid class B. It has no bias circuit of any kind. There's no fixed bias, no grid leak bias, no cathode bias, nothing. No bias. Straight grounded grid. All the grids are soldered directly to ground. And I'll just kind of let the output. This amp's been restored. It has new filter capacitors. Someone overdrove this amp. CBers are bad about doing that. In this case, the person had put too much power into it and they'd burned up the choke going to the king tube. People think they can dead key one and swing 30 or something and get away with it. Well, you can't. You'll burn it up. Even if you're overdriving with dead key, you're overdriving it with swing, you're still overdriving it and you'll still burn it up and you'll still eventually blow it up. This amp was designed for 4 watts dead key. And sideband drive is designed for 12 to 15. So I'm putting 4 watts into it. And the watt meter is on the 50 watt scale. I have the camera in HD. Hopefully you can make it out. This camera's a little funny. I can put it in macro and get really close and it'll be sharp and clear. Or I can back it up, several feet and it's clear, but there's kind of a no man's land where it's fuzzy. So sorry, I can't. If I'm 2 or 3 feet back, it's fuzzy. And if I get the macro lens on, I have to get really close and you can't see the whole thing. Anyway, here's 4 watts in. If you can make that out, that's going over to about 45 watts, and pretty much every D&A Hornet that I've seen does about 45 watts with 4 watts in. Matter of fact, they've all done 45 watts. And on sideband with maybe 12 to 15 watts drive, I've seen 75 to 80 plus watts on them. And they're actually not a bad little amp. The receive preamp, the BTL switch on most of these, the receive preamp on the D&As tend to go out. There's really nothing protecting the RF from spiking the transistor and blowing it. So even though it's easy to fix, it tends to blow again. But it's not really a bad little amp. As CB amps go, this is actually a fairly clean little amp. I know the hams automatically see CB amp and they want to go through the roof, but quite frankly, most hams aren't near as smart as they think they are. Generally, they put up a good show, but when their equipment breaks, they have to bring it to somebody like me to fix it for them. There's a few that know what they're doing, but there's a lot more that just memorize the answers to multiple choice questions and really don't understand it. They just want to pretend they do, and they run around the internet repeating what someone else told them without actually understanding it. So there you go. D&A Hornet, made probably back in the mid 1970s. 4 watts in, 45 watts out on a 50 ohm dummy load. There's a reality check.